Just a quick disclaimer as I get this video started. For those of you who are new, fairly recent, or you've been on the channel, you already know this is going to be a longer video. So make sure you grab your snacks, coffee, whatever it is you snack on, drink, dinner, maybe a late lunch, maybe a protein snack before the gym. Grab that because this is going to be a longer video. We got to break this down. We got to discuss this. And this one will be centered around T-Mobile because it looks like the deal between T-Mobile and US Cellular is in the later stages already and could be imminent. So let's get the video started. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here I have a great article for you guys from Mike Dano, a great breakdown. We'll get into it. We'll break this down. And this is going to be a longer video because there's lots to discuss. There's lots of speculation out there. There's some, of course, unofficial reporting that's being done. So let's get into it, right? So T-Mobile, Verizon want to carve up US Cellular, WSJ reports. So the reason that we're even seeing the Verizon name is, and I'm still surprised and shocked that AT&T is not part of the conversation. But regardless, everyone now has to take T-Mobile serious. I've said it in videos last year. I've said it in videos the year before, and nobody took T-Mobile serious. T-Mobile has not been getting regulated in anything that they've been doing. They just recently bought Mint Mobile. They're making their 2.5 holdings more contiguous. They've been buying up 600 left and right. Columbia Capital, Comcast. They're leasing for now. They'll buy there's a buying option in the future. T-Mobile has not been getting regulated. So anything moving forward, like this sell-off from US Cellular, maybe Dish in the future, Verizon and AT&T have to be a part of this. They have, from a competitive perspective, they can't just let T-Mobile do whatever they want. They have to be competitive now. Even if it's just to gain leverage or to make T-Mobile spend more, they have to be a part of at least the talks. They have to be a part of that. And that's something that I wanted to throw out as an opening statement because I think it's important. We know T-Mobile is there to compete. We know they got the Sprint merger to make the industry more competitive. But we can't let T-Mobile become this massive behemoth and Verizon and AT&T just lay back, because that's not good either, right? So we have to have all of them in these types of talks, especially as US Cellular is trying to break up their assets and, sell them amongst the wireless carriers. Now, I took a strong guess early on that T-Mobile would not be able to buy US Cellular in its entirety, right? It had to be broken up in parts. And I think that's what's happening here. And instead of US Cellular coming out to the FCC and having the FCC break it up, it looks like the carriers are working between each other to break it up themselves. So I'll read off this opening paragraph here. So according to a new Wall Street Journal report, T-Mobile is in the final stages of a $2 billion purchase of a chunk of US Cellular. Meanwhile, Verizon is eyeing a purchase of some of the remaining parts of US Cellular through that transaction, though that transaction is still in the early stages. So Verizon in the early stages, T-Mobile already in the later stages. So T-Mobile has been working this for some time. They told us at the quarterly earnings, I think it was Q1's quarterly earnings, that was on the table. So I knew that behind the scenes, they had to at least be talking to US Cellular. It's just in T-Mobile's nature. It's in their blood. If it makes them more competitive, they're a huge growth engine. They need every ounce or every bit of spectrum that they can possibly get their hands on. So earlier, I was discussing with a few people, and I think I mentioned that in the video earlier too. I was under the impression, and of course I'm speculating, but that T-Mobile might keep it on the operational side as it comes to US Cellular. Buy up some of the stores, buy up some of the towers, buy some of the customers. That's what I was thinking, right? To expand across the US Cellular footprint. US Cellular has around 4,000 towers, especially in parts of Oklahoma, Oregon. I mean, even Wisconsin, T-Mobile could greatly use some of that tower footprint. But it looks like, upon further research, reading the report, and you can check out the article for yourselves, it is being reported, and again, it's an unofficial report, but it's being reported that towers won't be a part of these deals. So it really sounds like it's mostly Spectrum here. Could it be some customers? Possibly. Could it be some of the stores? Yeah, could also be. But I think it's pure Spectrum. So now, right, that we have that info, now we can kind of speculate, like, okay, what asset would benefit T-Mobile, right? Would the FCC in these parts even allow T-Mobile to get US Cellular C-band or DoD? Would it just be the 600 that US Cellular owns? Maybe some AWS, maybe some PCS? I mean, now we can speculate, right? I would say, if it was me, I don't think T-Mobile is interested in US Cellular's C-band or DoD. You got to remember, right? Let's backtrack a little bit to put all the info out there. T-Mobile didn't really get any C-band or DoD in the rural parts. And that's where US Cellular mostly operates as a regional operator, and they got C-band and DoD in those parts. T-Mobile got C-band across about 220 million pops and DoD across about 175 million pops. So based on Auction 108 in the white spaces, I just don't see the FCC allowing T-Mobile to get more mid-band in those rural parts, just based off of recently, or not too long ago, I should say, getting that Auction 108 spectrum that T-Mobile got. So now what could it be, right? Is it 600? Quite possible. I have been told T-Mobile is looking to make N71 20 by 20 contiguous nationwide. So they just got Columbia Capital, they got Comcast, so it's possible that they are also working US Cellular to get 600 or additional 600. They probably already own, because they own 600 across the entire US, so they already own some 600 across all of US Cellular's footprint, so they're likely looking to make it contiguous, like the 20 by 20 like I mentioned. So that's a possibility. And then to make it worthwhile for the $2 billion, they might look, hey, can you give me 10 by 10 AWS, maybe some PCS, maybe we can work to make our PCS more contiguous with yours. That's also a possibility. Right? And we can speculate now, and we can make additional content you guys can discuss in the comments, because it's in the later stages. In fact, they're anticipating this to be announced before the month is out. So that means T-Mobile themselves, they were more engaged in these conversations. And maybe Verizon's intelligence team got word of it, and now they're looking like, oh man, T-Mobile again? They just got Mint Mobile. I'm sure Verizon's team is aware that T-Mobile is getting more 2.5 or making it more contiguous. And now this? So Verizon's like, we're stepping in. We got to talk now. And I think this will get the wheels spinning at AT&T too. I know right now the reports are saying AT&T is not involved, but trust me, AT&T, this is getting their wheels spinning, because this hurts AT&T the most, in my opinion. Because AT&T, a large part, I'm hearing like Missouri and some other parts, is where AT&T has uncapped roaming on US Cellular. If US Cellular is no longer going to exist, who is AT&T going to roam on? They're going to have to either roam on one of the other carriers that has a native footprint, or they're going to have to build out themselves. So maybe that's what AT&T is looking at. Okay, if US Cellular is selling and they're no longer going to be a carrier, we're going to have to invest billions anyway to build out our native footprint. So we're not going to invest into US Cellular. We're just going to build out. Very possible. It's a strong possibility that AT&T is viewing it that way, strategically. So, and then also, just to throw this in, citing unnamed sources familiar with the deals, the publication noted that neither agreement has been finalized. Again, even though T-Mobile's in the later stages and Verizon's in the early stages, neither deal is finalized. The report indicated that the T-Mobile portion of the deal could be announced later this month. And we're already like almost 10 days in, so not much left in this month. And time's going by quick. So we're going to hear about this relatively soon. If it falls through in the 11th, 12th hour, it's a possibility it could fall through. But T-Mobile has experience now. They know how to make these deals work in their favor. They know the system. They just went through the regulatory approval process with Sprint. They did it with Mint Mobile. They're in front of the regulatory bodies a lot now. They're starting to get familiar. There are familiar faces in those offices. They put the spectrum to work. I will give them that. Right? That's not something that can be argued in any hearings about this deal if there are hearings or antitrust concerns. T-Mobile puts spectrum to work almost instantly. This is not a Dish Network story where it's going to sit and they're going to sit on it and then who's going to fund it? No. T-Mobile has funding available to deploy this as quickly as possible. And if it's 600, let's be honest, they already have radios deployed for that too. There goes that. I mean, I'm not trying to be a smart ass, so to speak, but they got 600 megahertz radios deployed. They got 2.5 radios deployed. What are they shooting for? They're getting more 2.5, making it contiguous, and now possibly more 600 from US Cellular. So again, they're spending $2 billion up front to work through US Cellular with this, but on the back end, as it comes to the deployment, it's going to cost them nothing. If it's 600, right? If it's 600, if it's AWS, if it's PCS, it's going to cost them almost nothing to deploy that spectrum because they already have the radios and panels deployed on the network today. So it's a very cost-efficient, smart transaction. Like I said to someone last night, from an executive perspective, right? How they execute from a marketing perspective, go-to-market, deals, promotions, the FWA situation, now that they're trying to make the spectrum more contiguous. I mean, you can argue what you want, but their execution is top-notch, in my opinion. T-Mobile has the best executive leadership team in wireless today. People call Mike Sievert sweaty armpits. You can call them this. You can call them that. But they know how to execute, man. I'll give them credit when credit's due. Those guys know how to execute, man. Let's be honest. They bought all the right players. They bought all the right spectrum assets. And they made it all work. And now they're just getting more of it. Now, could we possibly go through a round of big complaints by AT&T? Yes. What do they got to complain? It's their fault. They could have spent more on C-band. They didn't. Right? They could have been in talks with US Cellular before T-Mobile. They didn't. They could have did this themselves. And maybe AT&T is holding out for Dish. I mean, again, that's possible. But that 40 megahertz DoD limit is still in place for another 2 years before AT&T could even buy more DoD. So all of that now is on the table. It's being reported. It got leaked. Somebody got word. Or maybe they wanted it to get out to see the market reaction. US Cellular stock popped like 30% today on this news. So it's a big deal, right? And even after the sale of these assets, US Cellular might still be operational. They might just be downsizing. It's all a possibility, but what we know of today, T-Mobile is in the late stages of a $2 billion buyout of some chunk of US Cellular's asset, and Verizon is in early stages of a similar type of buyout. So let me know your thoughts. T-Mobile's leading the way in these negotiations, it seems. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, join the membership for exclusive content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.